YouTube frogs, welcome back to an updated complete guide, this time revisiting our bubbly fireworks queen, Yoimiya. We'll be covering her design breakdown, optimal build choices for weapons and artifacts, important constellations, team comps, and showcasing her gameplay. Note that some of the footage in this guide is from the original recording back when my Yoimiya was minimally invested at Constellation 0, level 80, and level 6 talents. Let's dive right into it. So, how does this explosive ball of happiness work? Yoimiya, at her core, is the quintessential single-target normal attack-based DPS. With built-in Pyro infusion and the strongest bow normal attack multiplier in the game, Yoimiya provides explosively powerful normal attacks with an intuitively simple left-click playstyle. Yoimiya's normal attack string consists of a 5-hit combo, which is actually 7 hits since the first and the 4th hit twice. The highest multipliers exist on the 3-hit and 5-hit of this combo, and the entire string takes about 2.5 seconds to complete. Both of these traits are extremely important when it comes to Yoimiya's Pyro application and how this affects her Vaporize chain. While Yoimiya does have unique charge attack mechanics, they are considerably less useful than her base normal attack string and even are removed when activating her infusion ability. That brings us to her elemental skill, Niwabi, a Fire Dance. This is an on-field ability, activating normal attack Pyro infusion and increasing her normal attack multiplier by a multiplicative amount. As mentioned previously, this also removes her unused charge mechanic for kindling arrows. During this period, she generates 1 Pyro orb roughly every 2 seconds for a total of 4 to 5 Pyro orbs. With a duration of 10 seconds and a cooldown of 18 seconds, she can roughly complete 4 full 5-hit attack strings, which is N5 about 4 times, if she's not interrupted, before swapping out for 8 seconds for teammates. Not being interrupted is obviously ideal, so realistically expect to complete 3 chains for average use. This blazing arrow damage multiplier is a multiplicative multiplier, so it's as simple as multiplying each of her N5 attacks by 1.499 or 149.9% to conceptualize her infused multipliers. This makes her already strong normal attack multipliers even stronger and allows Yoimiya's single target damage to shine in beefy boss situations. Each N5 combo with Fire Dance active reaches around 900% multiplier at both of these talents level 6, I know that mine is level 9, for a total of 2,700% to 3,600% single target damage during her Fire Dance. Her elemental skill also enables her Ascension 1 passive, Tricks of the Troublemaker. This adds a stacking Pyro damage bonus per infused normal attack hit, capping at 10. Each N5 hits 7 times, so this will cap out at the middle of the second N5, about 3 to 4 seconds into her Fire Dance. You can also roughly see how many stacks she has with her glowing file trails. 4 stacks is 1 glowing, 7 stacks is 2 glowing, and 10 stacks is all 3 glowing. Lastly, we have Yoimiya's Elemental Burst, Ryukin Saxifrage. Yoimiya fires off an initial AoE Pyro explosion before marking a random enemy hit for 10 seconds. This mark can be procced by everyone's attacks and abilities except for Yoimiya herself, up to every 2 seconds. On enemy death, this mark transfers to another enemy within limited range. Dealing a moderate amount of damage, this ability is Yoimiya's only source of AoE damage and accounts for up to 20% of her practical total damage output. With a 15-second cooldown, it fits snugly within her own 18-second Fire Dance rotation. However, a 60 energy cost makes her burst tough to maintain by herself, and with only 20% of her total practical damage output, I'd view her burst as an extra iframe ability whenever it's up. Her elemental burst does also proc her Ascension 4 passive though, Summer Night's Dawn, which acts as a mini noblesse buff but for only the team, not herself. This buff ranges from 10 to 20% attack depending on her Ascension 1 stacks when activating her burst. With this, I'd view her burst as a quote when available type of ability. If you have it available, use it when you're not in Fire Dance form. This is usually before or after the entire duration of Fire Dance, otherwise don't worry about it. Now, for talent leveling priorities, do not follow the in-game recommendations. The normal attack talent is the most important skill to level up, as it provides the strongest multiplier increase to her normal attacks. Her elemental skill scaling is only about 50% as effective as her normal attack talent scaling and should be second priority. Elemental burst I would leave at your disposal depending on how often you use it during her rotations. Now for her playstyle and how her Pyro application influences the way that she works. So Yoimiya is one of those characters whose full attack sequence, N1 to N5, is optimal to use. This is because her strongest shots are at the second half of her string, the 3-hit and the 5-hit. Her full attack string is also very fluid, with little extended delay between multiple full combos, meaning you can just spam left click and gain most of her value. Our strongest shots being on the 3-hit and 5-hit also correlate to how her Pyro application works and when a Vaporize or Melt would activate on her attacks. She follows normal internal cooldown rules of 3 hits or 2.5 seconds. So for Yoimiya, she'll react on the 1st hit, 4th hit, which is N3, and 7th hit, which is N5. Notice that N3 and N5 are her strongest shots. This full sequence takes just about 2.5 seconds as well, refreshing her application so her next full sequence will react the exact same way. In this demonstration, Yoimiya is simply left-clicking her way and completing 3 full sequences of her normal attack string. Her Hydro supports are constantly reapplying Hydro Aura to maintain her Vaporizes. Notice that for every full normal attack sequence, Yoimiya procs a Vaporize on the N1, N3, and N5 every single time. Just make sure that the Hydro or Cryo Aura is already on the enemy before Yoimiya starts her auto chain. And to further maximize this value with Yoimiya, shielders are typically highly recommended to pair with her in order to guarantee she completes her full auto sequence without being interrupted. Add in her elemental burst either at the beginning or the end of her fire dance, and her attack rotation is complete. Try not to elemental burst during her fire dance though, as it is a time and DPS loss for her infused normal attacks. Alright, let's build her up. As an on-field DPS with the majority of her damage output coming from her elemental skill activation, Yoimiya's weapons gravitate only towards strict DPS options. I'll be going over her most practical options ranging from 3-star to 5-star. In-depth weapon comparisons were calculated back in the original Yoimiya guide video. So 3-star weapons. Slingshot still stands as an excellent budget weapon if you're just starting off in the game. It's easy to build around with its crit rate secondary stat, and most of the time you'll be within distance for a full value of its passive. 4-star weapons. So despite there actually being a multitude of DPS-based 4-star options, I'd only actually recommend 2 for her, given ease of access and relative ease of refinement. 4-star Hamayumi. This is the 4-star craftable bow from Inazuma that universally provides normal attack and charge attack damage increase. With your artifacts focusing on crit stats, Hamayumi will provide the attack percent and the normal attack bonus. It's not necessary to maintain the 100% energy at all, but it is a nice bonus. For this reason, it is less synergistic with Shimenawa's stealing your energy. It also scales pretty well with refinement. 4-star Rust. This is the quintessential normal attack steroid gacha bow. If you've been playing a decent amount of time, more than likely you'll have a couple refinements for this. This is the best 4-star choice for Yoimiya. And for my expert gamers out there, Prototype Crescent is also an option, but this requires that the passive be activated with her charge shot. It's not my favorite cup of tea, but I know some of you are Giga Chatting gamers and can pull this off. 5-star weapons. Oh man, we have a bunch of 5-star bows, and each one of them can definitely work for Yoimiya. Amos bow. Even though this weapon isn't really designed for Yoimiya, it can still pack quite a punch, even at short distance. It's not optimal, but still a very strong attack percent stat stick. Skyward Harp. This is the staple balanced crit-based bow that has stood the test of time despite many new bows being released. It's also extremely easy to build around with both crit rate and crit damage from its secondary stat, and also an extra passive proc dealing additional physical damage. Polar Star. So even though she cannot reliably access all 4 stacks, Yoimiya still gains a bunch of raw stats from this weapon. It's also easy to build around given its crit rate secondary stat. Aqua Simulacra. This is our newest 5-star choice with the release of Yelan, and a super solid choice for close range Yoimiya. It's a massive stat stick of crit damage, and also all damage percent bonus for close range. Then we have Thundering Pulse. This is Yoimiya's signature and undoubtedly the best in slot. It provides crit damage, attack percent, and normal attack bonus at staggeringly high amounts with a very easy to proc 3-stack passive. And here's the old weapon comparison chart from my original Yoimiya guide, comparing a wider range of weapons than discussed here. So, my personal recommendations for her weapons. Thundering Pulse at R1 or higher beats anything else. And then we have any 5-star choice, and I would say that Almost is probably the hardest to build around, so that'd be my lowest recommendation of the 5-star weapons. Then we have the 4-star Rust, higher refinement the better, 4-star Hamayumi, and then 3-star Slingshot. Other choices besides these are possible, but either are less intuitive to use or generally weaker. Now, onto artifact setups. As a Pyro normal attacking DPS, she has 3.5 very powerful options that excel in different scenarios. We have first the highest Vaporize / melt damage, but very annoying to farm, 4-piece Crimson Witch. Then we have the highest non-reaction damage and easiest to farm because it's with emblem set, but sacrifices the burst uptime, reducing team strength since limited access to the Ascension 4 passive, 4-piece Shimenawas. Then we have the highest raw pyro damage in mono pyro comps, and it's also annoying to farm, 4-piece Lava Walker. And then the half is the 4-piece Bolite set. This set basically requires Zhongli, but if you can manage that, it's another viable normal attack set if somehow you have a full 4-piece lying around. So each of these 4-piece sets has its pros and cons, and it really depends on what you value out of your Yoimiya. You can't really go wrong with any of those 3. Now, 4-piece sets can be tough to get. Thankfully for Yoimiya, 2-piece actually does very well on her, and are universal bonuses that don't sacrifice anything. They are stress-free options if you don't want to commit your sanity to any of the 4-piece sets. We have 2-piece Crimson and 2-piece Attack, which is the best 2-piece combo. That 2-piece Attack can be Glad, Shimenawa's, Vermilion, or Echoes. Or you can just run 2-piece Attack for both for 36% attack. And you can also include Wanderer's 2-piece set for reaction comps. Early game players, you guys can aim for any attack percent artifacts or the 4-piece Berserker set. Onto main stat choices. As a strict Pyro DPS that maintains the same playstyle all the way through Constellation 6, Yoimiya's choices are very simple. So general DPS, this is 95% of you guys running this. Attack Timepiece, Pyro Goblet, and Crit Rate Crit Damage Mask. Then we have the optimized Vaporize Melt Yoimiya alongside running with Bennett. This is Elemental Mastery Timepiece, Power Damage Goblet, and Crit. The attack will be supplied by Bennett. And then we have Overload Memes with triple Elemental Mastery. And then we have the, what I would call the R5 Thundering Pulse if you have Garbage Pyro Goblets and you have Godly Attack Goblets. The Attack Timepiece, Attack Goblet, and Crit Rate Crit Damage Mask. This is possible due to R5 Thundering Pulse providing 80% normal attack bonus, reducing the effectiveness of a Pyro Goblet for her normal attack. It's the current set that I use. So, general stat recommendations. I'd recommend at least 140% attack, which is about like 2,200 plus, 70% plus crit rate, since she does have crit rate ascension stat, 150% plus crit damage, or 200% if you have a crit weapon, and then 100 and 200 elemental mastery, it's extra if you're optimized for a Vaporize Melt build and you're pairing with Bennett, and then any extra recharge that you can grab. As you guys saw, I personally run the attack crit build since R5 Pulse, and because my attack goblet here is way better than my other Pyro Goblet options. With these artifacts and R5 Pulse, my stats look like this. Moving on to Constellations. So Yoimiya is one of those characters that already shines incredibly well at Constellation 0. Her early Constellations provide a bit more damage buff, but beyond that, nothing really too fantastic and no major gameplay upgrades all the way to C6. I find that her value at C0 is super comfortable and doesn't pressure you to push for more than that. Constellation 1. This extends her burst duration by 40% and also adds a self-noblesse buff to her elemental burst on defeating a marked enemy. It's a very simple self-steroid. Constellation 2. Very straightforward 25% damage buff off of a crit. It can also proc when she's off-field with her burst. C3 and C5. Plus 3 levels to her elemental skill and elemental burst respectively. Constellation 4. Improves her elemental skill uptime by decreasing that 18-second cooldown. In practical situations, you'll get about 3 to 4 procs of this per rotation. It also incentivizes that you elemental burst first to begin the rotation, reducing the synergy with Shimenawa's and encouraging Crimson Witch or Lava Walker. In ideal situations, this can maintain 90% uptime on her elemental skill, with C4 comboing with Constellation 1. Constellation 6. So this is the RNG Whale Constellation that on average provides 30% damage boost to her normal attack rotation. However, this nullifies her usual Pyro application though. So at Constellation 6, she can no longer reliably vaporize and melt in usual rotations. Instead, she'll need Kazuha and mono Pyro no reaction teams for maximum DPS. So in general, her Constellations are all mini buffs for herself, but not necessary for the core of her gameplay. So, how does one build around Yoimiya? One thing that I absolutely adore about Yoimiya is how flexible her team comp choices are. As an on-field main DPS, she shines best as the star of the show, wanting off-field supports that aim to maximize her single target potential and or utilize her capability as a normal attacker. But these are not requirements. In fact, Yoimiya's choices for supports are so versatile that when chosen as an Abyss carry, she's happy to take any leftover supports not used by the other team. So, team comp choices include single or double Hydro Vaporize, Yunjin normal attack carry, Overload DPS, Overvape DPS, which is Overload and Vaporize, Mono Pyro, Double Geo. Let's run through these. Vaporize Yoimiya, consisting of Xingqiu or Yellen, or both, plus Yoimiya and 1 flex slot. This comp aims to guarantee Yoimiya's Vaporizes on her N1, N3, and N5. The last slot can be protective like Zhongli, or offensive like Yunjin, depending on your comfort with Yoimiya's normal attack string. Yelan has the added benefit of Ascension 4 passive, providing up to 50% damage increase while Yelan's burst is active. Yunjin normal attack carry. So consisting of Yunjin plus Yoimiya plus 2 flex slots, this composition is her strongest personal DPS, with Yunjin providing the highest value support out of any character, even Bennett at Constellation 6. So the 2 flex slots enables double Geo, like Yunjin plus Zhongli, which ensures Yoimiya's protection during auto sequences, allows a single Hydra introduction or more buffs like Bennett on the same team. So you can run something like this. Overload DPS. So this consists of Beto and or Fischl plus Yoimiya plus 1 or 2 Flex if you only do 1 Electro. This comp capitalizes on Yoimiya's normal attack, constantly proccing either C6 Fischl's Oz and or Beto's Burst. So while the overload knockback can be annoying for auto target, it's also beneficial for staggering enemies and preventing them from interrupting Yoimiya's normal attack string. Available flex units for this are Kazuha Venti for crowd control and shred, or Bennett or Zhongli. Overvape. So this comp consists of a combo of Vaporize and Overload, usually with 1 Hydro and 1 Electro sub DPS plus 1. So the Hydro is something like Xinqiu or Yelan, the Electro is something like Fischl or Beto, and the plus 1 can be double Electro, double Hydro, or double Pyro with Bennett. So this Overvape team template provides a strength boost to both single target or AoE, depending on your Electro support. Fischl brings out more single target and Beto brings out more AoE. Then we have Mono Pyro. So this comp consists of Yoimiya plus Bennett plus Kazuha plus 1. This team focuses strictly on outputting as much raw pyro damage as possible. Kazuha is best case for this team comp, providing buff and debuff to the rest of the team. The one flex can be Xiangling for more raw pyro damage or protective like Zhongli. Venti is also swappable for Kazuha if you want more crowd control and an energy battery for your pyro units. C6 Yoimiya users will prioritize this composition for maximum DPS. Then we have Double Geo. So this is mainly Yoimiya plus Zhongli plus 1 extra Geo. So usually that would be Yunjin or Albedo, because Yunjin provides the normal attack buff and Albedo provides sub DPS. And the one flex slot is for literally anything. You can do a single Hydro, a single Electro, or another Pyro. This double Geo comp is usually a comfort pick for lazy whales with high investment on Yoimiya to solo carry. So in general, there's a bunch of flexible options for Yoimiya that allow high profile options to be used in more restrictive team comps. If they happen to be available for her to use though, she'll be right there ready to fire. Now for some gameplay showcases, featuring a few of the compositions that we previously discussed. Some of these showcase clips are older when I had a weaker Yoimiya, so you'll notice the enemies are from different Abyss cycles. Cue the music, Mr. Cope. Oh god, can I do this in time? No, they're gonna phase! They're gonna phase out! Good, I think we're good. I think we're good. So, what do I think about Yoimiya? An extremely flexible pyro powerhouse that does not need constellations. Her playstyle is easy and intuitive, her team compositions open up a lot of options, and she can dish out insane single target DPS. One of the units that I personally, and I'm definitely not biased by the way, use a bunch because that left click playstyle is super autopilot, satisfying, and lazy. And that wraps up the updated Yoimiya guide. Hope you guys enjoyed and are now better at Yoimiya than you were before. Good luck to those summoning, and I hope that all Yoimiya wanters become Yoimiya havers. Thanks as always for watching. Don't forget to like if you learned something, and as always, we'll see you next time. Take care.